Hello everybody and welcome to the CraftCast podcast. I'm here today with my good friend ShvrkBait,
What's up?
Sam, Paddy,
Hello.
and our special guest,
Bom, bom, bom.
Napoleon VII. How are you doing, and would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm doing fantastic, and I can introduce myself, I suppose. I'm most known, as a lore guy on the internet, a hyperanalyzer of block game on TikTok, and sometimes occasional Twitch streamer, and I can hyperanalyze anything and everything about this game.
So you mentioned talking about lore, and I feel personally the most interesting thing with regards to Minecraft lore is you spawn into this world, right? But it's already been touched. Something's already happened here. What's behind that? I think that would be a good place to start talking. What do you think came before the player joined?
Oh, well, that it's a big question because, I think it's often boiled down to, who is the civilization before Steve? But I think that's too simple for a second. If you think about our own history, we have different periods. You got, the medieval period, antiquity. You have so many different periods of our own history. So it's weird to think of all the past civilizations as all being at one time. I think there was a period where there was connections to the Nether, where piglin trade probably occurred. There's the ocean ruins. There's the ocean monument, and then there's the jungle temple that is the only building that actually uses redstone, other than single pressure plate redstone. So there seems to be different periods of time for different civilizations.
It's definitely intelligent life, as you said, sort of redstone. Yeah. I can't do redstone, so somebody's smart out there. But I think it's interesting. Sort of, obviously, you've got the villagers who seem to be, I don't know, you could call them passive, very pacified.
Mm-hmm.
But then obviously the piglins and stuff, we've got, you get hard on if you're not wearing gold. So it is interesting. It is interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
that's actually a really interesting through line of the past of Minecraft seems to be gold, because we find in ruins gold, but it's not a currency that really matters to Steve in the current day or for villagers. They use emeralds. But the only reward you get for beating the Elder Guardian in the monument is gold.
Yeah.
But that would be useless to anybody who's not a piglin.
Yep.
Yeah,
true.
Guardians as well. Sort of Sunken Temples are really interesting. Sort of, as you mentioned there, if you look at the kind of real world history things, obviously we've had many civilizations vanish through rising sea levels, sinking, etc.
Yep. Yeah.
And obviously, you've got to think the mobs in there as well. I can't remember what the name of them are. The Guardians.
So with the Guardians as such, maybe is why are they only specifically drawn to them monuments? Do you have a segment
Like we
on
did
that?
there.
Yeah.
Specifically. You didn't say specifically. You said
the
Pacific.
ocean.
Like in the ocean.
Yeah, the ocean. Is there
I like that one.
yeah, but so I mean, why do they only go there?
Yeah.
Why do they never go anywhere else?
Well, that's a question. I was going to say, some people think they're golems. Some people think they're kind of
robots,
a built
right?
mob that just continues, and that's why they're called guardians specifically. But also interestingly,
Guarding the gold?
yeah, true. But they're also interesting. One of the few mobs in Minecraft that does magic damage, or that's specified as damage type magical.
Oh.
Not many mobs do that. Them and evokers are the only ones that really cast magic damage.
Evokes
I
the
suppose
ones-
that's quite interesting in a way, because in our own kind of history in the past, gold used to be the standard form of currency, as in the gold standard, and then we moved on to new types.
Yeah.
And then you think, so also all the different areas where gold is kept, there's always something guarding that gold, whether it's piglin brutes in a bastion maybe, or the Elder Guardians in the ocean ruins, and there's also if you think about it as well, the pressure plates in
temples and stuff. Yeah.
And that kind of guard the gold at the bottom of the pyramids. I think that's quite an interesting point. The point that there's something being built there to guard this gold. So possibly even that gold was put down by a different kind of ocean-going civilization, maybe. Because we do have kind of a bit of lore there as well with the oceans, where we have these ruined ships and we have the buried treasure. So maybe that links in with it as well. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I totally think. Actually, I think the ships specifically are going to be done or are from a different period than the rest, because there's the ocean ruins outside of the monument, which are kind of like small towns, but they're built specifically with this is going to be a bit of a tangent. They're built specifically with stone brick, which is only found in things connected to the Stronghold civilization. But when you go to those, the achievement you get is finding Atlantis, and because it's a sunken city, probably is likely the illusion there. But then the thing that you can get only from buried treasure is the heart of the sea. Yeah. And that allows you to breathe underwater.
It's just connected to water. No, it is interesting. There could be a link between the two if you think about it. Sunken ships and Guardians. Obviously, Guardians are an aggressive mob that attack things that travel past. If obviously at some point there was a sort of, a civilization that was capable of moving across the land, maybe some sort of relation to the the villagers.
Yeah.
Like they could encounter the Guardians and they could have had their ship sunk, and their treasure could be buried from the past. Obviously, something like that. I think that's really cool to sort of think of.
Well, and the Guardian's ziggurat is also made of prismarine, which you need to combine to make the actual magical object of part of the sea.
What's it called?
Conduit.
Conduit, that's it.
Yeah, conduit, yeah.
And so what's interesting there, though, is that the drowned who you find in the sunken ruins are the only way that you can get maps kind of thing to find the buried treasure, where the Heart of Sea would have made sense. But Prismarine only comes from Guardians, and Guardians will attack drowned. So it's just a weird, antagonistic relationship between those two.
That's very strange.
Yeah.
You're very knowledgeable.
I've done this far too often.
I think especially saying about how I found it interesting what Paddy was talking about was the fact about the Guardians maybe putting down the ships because of their magic. I thought that was quite cool. Like a good way to look at it as, you know what I mean? If they say ventured out. A bit like what's it called? The sirens. I think that's what they're called. The mermaids that used to put them down.
Sirens.
Yeah.
So you could call the shit like the sailors to them, and then they'd slaughter them.
Yeah.
That mob that
cool.
all that mob they were planning on adding, but they added the Phantom instead, the one that was going to be underwater.
Yeah.
The giant barnacle or whatever it was called.
Barnacle Boy.
No, not Barnacle Boy. Down bad.
I mean, it could be. You could have Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, Bikini Bottom,
The invisible car.
There is Sponge there, so
Oh, I mean, there we go.
Yeah,
hey, that's just an easy DLC for them. That's some easy bedrock money.
Yeah.
Bring in squirrels. Boom. Job done.
But even to that extent, though, I think that one's very interesting because I think they thought that was going to be the mob that got added because they still have that mechanic of the pull down. The thing for the lava blocks or magma
blocks.
Yeah, their pull down mechanic is the mechanic that Kraken was going to have.
Would have implemented, yeah.
Yep. But then they said, oh, well, they didn't vote for it. They voted for this flying
things that come out at night.
It happened as well with the other, like the lizard creature, the unenchanting, because they added the grindstone. It's interesting that even though the mobs were kind of removed, the concepts behind them were still added.
Hey, no need to throw out good work.
Well, I know. Well, I mean, they did say that they were all going to get added eventually.
Not for that mob vote.
Not for that one.
That's actually the one mob vote.
They didn't say that for any. They said they may be eventually added.
Okay.
But
as long as you don't bring those piss cows back, I'm okay.
No, for the for the biome votes though of 2018 and 19, those ones will eventually be added, but the mob votes don't have the guarantee.
Okay.
Yeah. So frogs are coming. Frog is coming.
I thought. See, frogs I thought were awesome. Especially. I thought the chest in the boat sounded cool, but then I think
I thought that'd be cool.
Me and Josh had a conversation with Paddy a few days ago about how that couldn't possibly work.
No, we did.
About and also who actually uses the chest of the donkey? Like, let's just be real. You know what I mean?
Well, donkeys are just so slow; they're just impractical. As soon as you've got an elytra as well and a couple of shulker boxes, game over.
I think it was interesting you mentioned there. That the ocean-going civilization were building with those stone bricks, and that the only other time that stone bricks are seen is in the stronghold construction. And I think that's quite an interesting one because the lore around the stronghold, and then specifically the end, is very vague in a way, in the sense that the strongholds are often quite incomplete, I find, and then you get to the end. And you see with the end cities this kind of remnant of some kind of civilization that used sky boats, maybe similar to those ocean-going boats, possibly. And they went around killing ender dragons and putting their heads on the boats. So it's kind of like, what was the aim? What was this objective that this previous civilization must have had.
I'm interested in sort of lore around the Endermen. Is it obviously I've not really looked into a lot of Minecraft lore, as I said, it's not really my forte. I'm more of a builder that. But what is the lore behind the sort of Endermen? Obviously they're in a separate dimension on their own. Obviously somebody there or them have the facility of building these structures, these multiple tiered structures that float. As Josh said, the boats as well, and obviously their ability to teleport. Is there any kind of interesting lore around them? I'd love to sort of know, if you wouldn't mind.
There's great lore around like the Enderman in general. I mean, like, hot take, I actually disagree with the theory that the stronghold is built by the civilization that becomes the Enderman. I don't think that's true. I think that the stronghold is a research facility that stumbled upon, using the abandoned mine shaft, stumbled upon the portal entrance into the end, and basically, because otherwise it doesn't make sense for them to have the library.
Well, I was going to say that, yeah, from like a builder's perspective, the library and like the other rooms they've got, like, the dungeons, even the rooms where they have, like, say, the ones that are sort of weird, where they have like built ones that go up to a second floor or whatever, you could see there might be bedrooms or something. So that actually makes more sense to me than the Endermen have built it, because obviously certain areas in that as well, I believe they're not 3 blocks high, where if it was built by Endermen, they'd be fitting in. And obviously, why would Endermen need jail cells for one? Because they can just teleport out with them, stuff like that. So I think that from a builder's perspective, and looking at it that way, that also does add up in a way of like, and obviously that could also, if you're thinking deep dive, it could link into silverfish. Like, silverfish could have been an experiment gone wrong or whatever, and have escaped and burrowed into the walls, etc.
I tell you to like pause there, but like this stuff we've been talking about, when it's like 2 or 3 a.m. and you're like had a few to drink and you're having like deep conversations about like is the world a simulation, your brain starts doing that weird like next level consciousness. You get that with this lore stuff, I tell you that now, because it makes you really go,
it makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes you go, wait a minute, that does link up. That's it does link up. So this is what I really love about this.
That's actually my favorite part. Like, not like in a self-plug way, just like my favorite part about any comment I ever get is always the one that's like, I rethought Minecraft because of this, and I was like, "That's good," because what I think's overlooked by so many people, because I get it, it's Minecraft, and most people just get it, and it's been there for over a decade now.
Game.
Yeah, but you got to realize it has just as many team meetings and designers and like scheduled storyboard artists and stuff like that coming in to be like, what is the plan? Like, they've removed things from the game because it didn't fit the universe.
So do you then think that? You mentioned earlier as well previously that you think that there's different ages and different civilizations within Minecraft's history, and not just a singular one. So you mentioned that possibly the stronghold is a research center that was stumbled, or a research center that was built when they stumbled upon something. Therefore, the mine shafts might predate the strongholds. And then also, I mentioned before the end cities and the way that these boats are constructed that fly and have like dead dragon heads on them. Do you think that maybe the species that went around hunting dragons came after the people that were doing the research, or maybe those were links?
Yeah.
Well, I think that one's like hard to say, because like part of the reason I think the research is separate is because nothing else in the stronghold is of the same visual design as the end stone that makes up the portal. So it's just weird to have only that. But then in the actual end, the end is so weird because it's hard to make heads or tails if you're saving it or not, because you kill the dragon and that's rescuing the end. But then beyond that, you go to these other ships that have other end dragon heads on them as well. And in finding that, you find these ships that I think are interesting, because I think they go to other dimensions and I think they teleport, but that's because they don't have a mast and they're made of purpur blocks, which are made of popped chorus fruit, and chorus fruit is naturally a teleporting ability. Yeah,
I think that's really interesting to think. Sort of. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but like on the front of you're killing the Ender Dragon, I've seen a lot of people. Like, I've seen a few TikToks out there and stuff that's like, it's sad because in a way, this guy Steve has come into this world, he's taken it over as his own, he's wandered his way through to the end, and then this dragon that's just kind of minding their own business, you know what I mean? They're just flying around, protecting the crystals. We're like, yo, pop, 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 and then just take it out. I think that's very interesting to think that you could be the villain of the story in that respect, because you've gone in, you're a foreign invader to this like dragon's land, and then you've just killed the final Ender Dragon. You've finished off this mass genocide in a way of Ender Dragon, and you've finished that mission. I think that's really interesting to look at it that way, that you're not actually saving in the end. You are the villain in that kind of, you're the foreign invader coming in.
Yeah, from what I've because I've had a look at some videos before you came on, did some research. So obviously the standard one is thinking that there might be the shulkers, the shulker mobs might have been the people who came first, and then maybe the Endermen came afterwards. Because obviously that's what I think as, and obviously what I've seen. I say obviously from what I've seen is that the Endermen were characters like ourselves, and then after a while were shaped and morphed into the Enderman
after eating the fruits.
So do you agree with that? Yeah, maybe eating too many chorus fruits. That's what I've seen.
If we go down the lines of, let's say, these researchers have got into the end, and they've now discovered there's this race of Endermen and the dragons and stuff, and they don't know what to do. What if the heads are inside the shulker boxes are these scientists that have made these shulker shells as a way to protect themselves from, the mobs in the end? It's their way of surviving. They've had to, if you think of it like, I don't know if anybody here's watched Doctor Who or I know it's a British show, but like, you think of the
Daleks?
Yeah, the Daleks. So they were this race that were at war or endangered, and they evolved to this killing machine inside a shell to protect themselves. If you think of it like that, maybe these scientists have protected themselves by turning into shulkers. They can naturally teleport from their eating of the fruit, but the shells are their way of concealing themselves and protecting themselves from these Endermen that will try and pop over and pick them up,
So also I think that highlighting this as well, we also spoke about how all of these different monuments have something that like in them that's being protected, and kind of going down that thinking, then the end cities often have really high enchanted diamond armor hidden in chests, right? And they're also, I believe, the only place where you can naturally find a ender chest. Possibly wrong on that.
No, I don't. Right, no, I. You sure?
Yeah, you're correct. You can't. You can't get ender chest anywhere but there.
So it's interesting then to think that this civilization that maybe turned themselves into shulkers, maybe they're like, well, we don't need our armor anymore. And if then thinking about that in the timeline as well, you don't find any netherite items in the end. So quite possibly the civilization that went to the end and did all of this happened before the rise of the civilization in the Nether, where they then had their where they used all this netherite and burnt themselves out through that. Because I'm not sure. What do you think about that now?
I mean, I definitely think it was a once very powerful nation. I mean, like, it's hard to say. Like, shulkers are weird. For one reason is because they, unlike any other mob, if you splash them with invisibility potions, their shell goes invisible, but they stay visible.
I did not know that.
What? Okay, well, this guy doesn't watch my videos. Okay, Paddy.
Was it before or after I met you that you've put that out?
Before, but that was my first one that popped off about shulkers.
Okay, back to the podium, please.
What I was going to say was it's unlike any other armor. Normally, if you splash something that has armor on, the armor will stay visible and it will go in, and their flesh will go invisible. Endermen work a little weird too. Their eyes stay visible, but that's only because they arguably have something like true
same
sight.
As spiders.
Spiders too, yeah.
And so it's kind of like this weird question for me of like, well, why doesn't the central part go invisible, but the outer shell goes invisible? And I don't know if that means the outer shell's what's the alive part and the inside's like not, because souls are a big thing in Minecraft. Soul sand, souls getting taken into the wither, etc., etc., etc. There's a whole host of things people could talk about with that. And so I personally wonder if it's the actual shell, like some sort of mind trapped into a shell body or something like that. But maybe that's just the DM.
That's really interesting to think.
So I'm walking around with 12 souls in my back pocket.
The soul collector's here.
Yeah. So then, I guess going towards the Nether, then talking about the Nether. So possibly this was before the rise of the civilization in the Nether, because they haven't got any kind of trade. Because if they were around at the same time that this Nether was civilization, and they were able to trade, you'd expect they'd be able to get hold of some kind of netherite items or something from the Nether.
They have brewing stands.
They do.
True.
In the end ships.
So possibly they did then. And then that kind of leads into that question as well with the souls. Is like, so if we're talking about this civilization of shulkers and their ties to souls, we also know that piglins are terrified of soul sand and soul torches, and possibly that might even lead into a fact that there might have been a conflict between them, hence why the piglins are innately scared of souls. Or maybe that's something else?
Yeah, someone had to live in those fortresses.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously the fortresses are a whole another story that we could talk about, aren't they? Because they're again, somebody's developed this technology or has the means to not only survive in the lava, but to build these structures that raise out of the lava. And obviously they've got the sophistication of architecture, because they've got the arches on the bridges. They've got, obviously, they use the sort of fences as cages, and they've got obviously the windows as well that they're using. So obviously they've built something there to keep things out. I think it's a cool idea if you think, obviously, coming on to different mobs as well that could relate into head lore. You've got your skeletons and your wither skeletons.
Yeah.
Skeletons could be the remains of the humans that came before on the overworld, and these wither skeletons could be these humans or whatever, civilization that's ventured into this Nether and that have built these structures and these massive, constructions of ways to live in the Nether above the lava, and then after they've passed, instead of becoming just normal skeletons, maybe from being in the Nether, and again coming onto that, who knows, that maybe that side of thing with the soul. Obviously, if they've been in the soul valleys or if the soul sand, maybe they've not got a soul, and that's why they are, these wither skeletons.
You never see piglins. There's no piglins, is there, in the fortresses?
Nope. They're never in the fortresses.
Oh,
No.
yeah, they're not. Oh, yeah, they're not.
So maybe once they're at war and I guess, piglins won. Yeah.
I think also the effect that withers give you is withering, the same as the wither, and the wither itself is constructed from soul sand, which makes me think that withering is not an attack on you, but more of an attack on your soul.
That's such a good idea. That is such a good idea.
And that then makes me think more about why the piglins are so scared, because it's like
that is a good point. Like, so think, yeah. Well, what they call dementors out of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Something like that. The more you wither away, the more your soul's going, then you have to run away from the mob to let that effect come off you. But obviously, that is such a good idea, Josh. Again, that's a really cool headcanon kind of thing to have.
So with the withers chill in the Nether fortresses and the piglins chill in their bastions, do you think that maybe each like the piglins obviously belong with the bastions and the wither skeletons belong with the fortresses, each of them have their own chiseled block? You've got a wither skeleton on like a nether brick, that's one of the chiseled blocks, and then you've got the pig snout
on the chisel block
as their chisel. Yeah. That's I
thought that was a plug outlet, but alright.
Not for us British lot.
Oh yeah, you guys friggin'
Triangle.
Dude, good lord, yeah, that.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Electrical outlets.
we're talking about the blocks, Paddy. Look.
Yeah, but it comes back to the overworld, definitely. Obviously, with your sandstone blocks, they have engravings. Your chiseled sandstone has engravings. I think that's definitely such a good idea, because there's these civilizations that have had the ability to engrave and communicate in that kind of way.
Well, also, you talk about going back to the overworld. So yeah, if a piglin goes to the overworld or the end, it becomes a zombified piglin, right? And then also, when they're zombified, they don't take fire damage and whatnot. It's kind of, again, like that point where if they come there, they kind of almost lose their soul and become dead.
I was about to say, because zombies don't have souls, do they? So could you say that Steve doesn't have a soul? But it's the harsh truth, my friend. Could you say that Steve doesn't have a soul?
That would explain why we can make villager farms just so easy.
I'll go to a baby cow and steal it.
So maybe the character, the ancient civilization, they went into Portal accidentally with a pig, and maybe they both formed together. Yeah.
But again, that comes back to that. Maybe if you think the researchers, again, these scientific people in the strongholds that were running experiments, maybe something like that. Like they've ended up testing something, sending like a pig through, like obviously, you know, in real life times, of course times, but you'd send a dog to space, wouldn't you? They'd never test it on themselves first. Maybe that's it. They send a pig through, and you know, whatever, and then they go through and something bad happens in a transfer and they become the pigmen. That's again a really cool idea. You can
say with the was it the hoglins as well? You know, maybe that was the first experiment, and the second experiment was the pigmen.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, definitely. I think there's still a lot more that we could talk about, really. You know,
there's so much. The Nether's so, you know, now obviously with this recent update, it's you know, the Nether update really made it that much bigger to talk about.
A bigger world.
Even in terms of, like, you know, if you want to go back to like the research people, then like I'd say one of the examples for research is also underneath the igloos is the hidden basement where you can learn in game how to change villagers back from zombified villagers. Is also stone brick. It's the only.
Hold on, there's something under igloos. What?
So underneath the igloo, there's a few things. There's a brewing stand. There's a chest with a golden apple in it, and there's 2 villagers. One of them is in a cell, and it's a normal villager. The other one's in a cell, and it's a zombified villager. So what it is it's a clearly an experiment on curing zombie villagers. But then above the igloo, you actually also have a small pot with a cactus in it, which shows that the person who was there not only understood the way to cure villagers and understood magic, but also had travelled at least from a desert to get to this igloo area.
Joke about him being a prick.
Very true. It can be.
Also, it has a redstone torch.
Yeah, I was going to go onto that as well.
Rather than a normal torch, which shows that they had an understanding of redstone, but also understood that if they had a normal torch there, it would melt it. So they actually had an understanding of some of those mechanics too. So I think, yeah. What do you think is the most interesting thing then about these hidden?
I didn't know they were a thing.
Yeah, it's on screen now, but yeah, it's you know, it's something that maybe people won't know, but that was the whole thing about the igloos, to show off how, you know, you can turn the villager that was zombified into normal villager. That was part. I think it was more like. So it was about the update, wasn't it? So,
yeah,
I'm sure it's about the update. But then, actually, if you think about it, like whoever inhabited that igloo has a very similar understanding to the game as Steve, right? Because they've travelled a lot. They've got an understanding of redstone. They've got an understanding of magic. It's very similar to what we as the player have. So it's almost like a nod to the fact that there maybe was a player there before you, similar to you.
Yeah.
Herobrine, possibly, yeah.
So do you think maybe on this timeline that the igloo, whoever that person who they were, maybe is like the most recent of like the timeline to yourself?
Well, it has to be, because if you think about it, the villagers, they trade in emeralds, right? They must have come after whatever it was before, because we know whatever was before valued gold more than anything else. So then you think about these villagers must have come afterwards because they value emeralds rather than gold. So whatever was there must have been between the villagers starting their civilization, which I guess is the current civilization of the overworld, and when you get there.
Okay, here's a question. Who built the ruin portals? Because you always find gold and gold tools and gold armor at ruin portals. If gold is so important, why did someone just leave it there? And why did they just, like, they leave it on top of their portals or wherever to just display it? Or if it's so important, why wouldn't they keep it safe?
If you got it, flaunt it, you know?
You know what, Nap? That is a very, very good point.
Are you saying you've never built something and just put diamond blocks everywhere?
Dude, it's not 2011.
When I was 12, yes, when I was 12.
The gold argument as well, though, is quite interesting, because gold is also very heavily related to magic, if you think about it.
Yeah, the golden
apples and enchanted golden apples apply status effects to the player. So gold wasn't just a valuable thing for trade, but it was also a valuable thing for magic and for health, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But obviously the portals must be, you know, when you do like the speed runs where you can travel 8 blocks when you put another Nether portal in. So maybe that Nether portal that got left over is like, you know, brought out some of the Nether into the overworld, and it's just the other ends of the portal.
They were like escaping, and as it came out, it's leaked the Nether, because obviously that's why you've got the Nether blocks around it, and the magma blocks, and obviously that's a really cool idea as well. And yeah, or maybe it's something, again, I don't know, again, headcanon, sort of these pigmen that have been in Nether, they're trying to escape, they're coming out of the Nether with their gold loot on them, and then, as we said, 12 seconds, they start to feel this, and then they're like, okay, dump all the stuff in the chest, and then boom, zombie pigman. I like that could be an idea.
That's really interesting though as well, because if you think about it, the piglins, two of their trade items in their loot table are obsidian and crying obsidian, right? But the only way you can get obsidian is by combining lava and water. And there is no water and no obsidian naturally generating in the Nether.
Yeah.
So how did they get that obsidian? That's what I want to know.
Very good point.
And then why do they no longer value it? If you think about this item that must have been so hard to get because they would have had to get it from trade with the overworld in the past, why do they now not care about it and they're giving it away for the same? They'll give away some ender pearls.
They've heard one go through, and then they've heard on the other side, uh-oh, and they're like, right, we're not going through there anymore, and they're leaving it. They're not going in. They're not going again.
Ooh, I got an answer.
Go for it.
Go on, Nat.
I was going to say, first about gold. Also, gold items enchant better in Magic. They enchant better than any other item. Because gold is easier to imbue with magic in Minecraft's world. For a whole host of reasons, I'm sure. But also, the gold's the gold's also there to kind of give an implicit way. Like if you played Minecraft and didn't have Wikipedias or ever see, I don't know, CNNers or something play it a decade ago, then you'd not really have any idea that the Nether exists. Like if you just had this game on a laptop. So the only way to ever figure out the Nether even exists in this game is through little in-world tells like that. But then also I was going to say obsidian's the most magical block, and it's a magical block. It's used as a conduit for making the beacon. It's used for making the enchantment table, the end spikes in the end, which also in the end there's no lava or water either. So how those got there, I have no idea.
And what are those ones called now? The is it the Nether anchors? The glowing things on the floor. Use it for that. That's magic imbued.
Respawn anchors.
It holds portals are made of obsidian and stuff like that. So it's all very kind of peculiar, and it seems to be the magic block of Minecraft is obsidian.
Yeah. Well, Nap, here's a question for you, mate. What is your favorite? If you had to tell us one thing, or answer us one question, what is your favorite bit of lore in Minecraft?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, the igloos are kind of my favorite, honestly, just because it's such it's some of the most mysterious storytelling that actually exists in the overworld. Once you get to the end, it does actually lock you in to doing some form of storyline.
Yeah.
Because you can't leave, and you either die or you beat the dragon.
Yeah.
True.
Which is really weird for Minecraft. Everything else is very do what you want.
It's been great having you on, Napoleon. But we've got a little job for you now. Okay? So we've got a little segment, a new segment, and we're calling it The Void. For The Void, every single CraftCast member will select an item, mob, or something else that should be sent into The Void, never to return. Each week, a new category will be picked, and our special guest will decide which item is sent to The Void. This week, it's Minecraft mobs.
You know what? I'm gonna go. Yeah, ShvrkBait. Hoo ha ha. Let's go.
Oh, that wasn't the plan. That wasn't the plan. So, you know what? As much as they, you've got the husk is like the zombie, of the desert. I'm going to say strays. I hate them. Ooh. They're the worst mob ever created. The reason why is, when you're in the snow biome and you can't see any of the spruce trees and it's all bleak, and you're just trying to run away and you're stuck in the worst seed ever. And the last thing you need is something that runs really quickly and shoots you with a slowness arrow. Like, it's the worst thing in the world, and I hate it. It's just horrible. And every time I see them, as I said in the second podcast, it makes me want to quit the game. It's just one of them mobs that grates on me. Whenever I see it, I never want to see it again. I quit, and I can't deal with it. And now you can use it with the powdered snow? You can crate them, mate. If you're crating them farms anywhere near me, that's it. ShvrkBait's gone.
I'm gone.
But that's it. I just hate them. I can't even give you a reason. They're just annoying. They run too quick. Into the void they go.
Maybe.
Rant over.
I would say good points, but I think your only points you hate them. But good points. Let's go to Josh. Let's just go down the line, Josh.
Right. So, my pick is the bat in Minecraft, right? And that's because the bats in Minecraft have absolutely no use, and they do nothing, right? You have a mob that you can't breed. The only kind of one like that you can't breed. It drops no XP when you kill it. Its spawning conditions are pretty ambiguous, and it has no purpose. There's no drops when you get it. You don't get bat wings or eyes or anything. There's nothing. Literally, if you removed bats from the game and someone who's played it for 10 years started playing it, they would probably never notice that the bats have been removed. They'll just go into some caves, walk around, and they won't even realise that there are no bats there because they provide no function to the game, no lore, nothing. They're just useless. So I think bats should go, and no one will care. That's it.
Divisive.
Yeah.
Everything else is wrong.
Yeah, let's just. I don't know about those points. But we'll see. Patty, you can go.
As you can see on screen, my point and my mob that I want to get rid of is the rabbit. Now, you may ask Nep, Paddy, why do you want to get rid of the rabbit? Well, Nep, let me tell you, this is why I want to get rid of the rabbit. Okay. They hop around. Okay, cool. They hop around. Yappy day, I can jump them down. Alright, nothing special. What do they have? What is the point of them in the game? They'll come, they'll munch your carrots. Alright, we don't need that. Okay, carrots are a rare oddity anyway. You've got to find them. They're not naturally spawning like wheat is. Okay, what else do they give you? For one, the majority of the time I see rabbits, they're in the desert. What rabbit lives in a desert? Alright, I'm not having it. For one, I'm not having it.
They are desert hares.
Why? What? I'm not having it. Still not having it. They don't belong in the desert. Anyway, moving on. The other thing, leather, right? Why does a rabbit drop leather? Explain that to me, Net, because I've never seen a rabbit in real life with, a backpack on or, a chest plate on, ever. All right, unless there's some weird sort of lore going on. No, they don't drop hide. They drop leather. Okay, a rabbit doesn't have a hide. Rabbit has a skin. All right, you take the skin off to eat the rabbit leg as well. Yes, you can get the lucky rabbit's foot. I'll give you that. That's the only. We've got to see the positives on here. But bar that, useless, Net, useless. But yeah, that's my 4 cents.
Well, that's a hardline opinion. You know that's not going to win you cute votes. I'll tell you that. That's. Oh,
I'm extreme. Okay.
What if someone out there loves Bugs Bunny?
Yeah, I'm actually quite pissed. But, it's
what
fine.
about the other bunny? So anyway, I actually agreed with Paddy on the rabbit. I decided the rabbit was my least favorite, but I have a couple of spares as well. I had 3, which I wasn't sure which one I was going to decide between, and I think it was between the piglin brute and the fox, and I chose the fox over the piglin brute because the piglin brute, it does mean that you have to navigate the bastion a little differently. So I picked the fox. What they don't. don't get me wrong, I love cats. I think cats are very cute, and foxes are quite similar to cats. And actually, I have seen about 4 foxes in the last couple days. But they don't do anything. Well, they hold... Sometimes they spawn with an emerald, which is quite good. They can hold a sword, so they're useful in farms. Other than that, they don't really do anything. You can get white ones, which are pretty cute, but they don't do anything. They just kind of lie on the ground looking cute. You can't tame it. They just... Hey, you can tame... Will it follow you? What happens when it grows up, though?
I think in Bedrock you have to tame the... You have to breed them, and then you have the baby. In Java, you can breed you can actually tame them with berries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. I've tried it, and it didn't work for me, but...
I might be wrong on this, but I do believe there is a mechanic where the more generations of breeding you go through with the foxes, the more friendly they are around you.
Okay. Well,
which is an interesting one they added because it's different to the wolves. But anyway, sorry.
That's a very interesting mechanic, but I just don't see the point in them.
What?
Sometimes they have their little emerald, which can be helpful early game, but other than that, they don't really do anything. They add a little bit of an environment to Minecraft, which I'm all about. You know, we got polar bears and whatnot, all sorts of things for the environment, but I just don't see it with the fox. Don't think it's a great mob.
Oh, I didn't
Doesn't
know that.
drop anything.
I thought they were just...
Man, oh man, y'all are some tough critics. Well, I mean, I'll go down the line. I'll say my thoughts on each of yours, and then I'll give my final verdict. Well, for the strays, like, I don't know. I know the strays could be annoying, but come on, the lore. They wear a little diamond necklace. They got drip. It's great.
Oh, fair enough. They have got the drip.
They got the drip. I love them. But I can understand. Oh God, getting hit by a weakness arrow really hurts. I have died many times because I was slowed by their arrows. But fair points.
I respect that.
For the bats, I can understand. It's funny. I've watched actually a very heated debate about how useless or not they are. So it's funny that you brought that up to me. But I don't know. I know they're there for like environmental reasons. I think is why they got added.
They're good when you've got the morph mod, so you can turn into one and fly around. But other than that,
Ooh, that's a good point.
One of them once saved me in a hardcore. It dived in front of an arrow from a skeleton, so I will always love them.
You know what?
Forever.
You know what? When a bat takes an arrow for you,
Yeah,
you know that they're worth keeping.
They're a real one. Yeah, a bat. Literally, I was about to die in a ravine, and boom, squeak! A hit takes a hit. Boom, I'm alive. All right, so.
Yeah, Josh, they're kind of destroying your argument. You're kind of getting scammed here,
Josh,
pal.
Would a rabbit take an arrow for you? No, it wouldn't. No, it would
well,
not.
if it hopped at the right time.
It would give me a potion of leaping.
And it goes on your head. I'm not gonna lie, I'm quite upset with you, Paddy.
I've never had a rabbit go on my head, and a rabbit's never taken an arrow for me.
I do like the rabbits, and I do like the foxes.
Mate.
But anyway, Nap, go on, buddy.
Me and Paddy, we're one and the same.
Man, you got a bit of a headache?
Hey,
wait, someone bonked me on the head and my head is swollen.
Well, then there's the rabbits, and I feel so bad because, it's a rabbit, it's cute. I can pull that out of a hat. I'll admit, I do not understand why they are in the desert. That has never made sense to me. I've done that. And they do sometimes set off the pressure plate in the temple when I bust in there.
Oh, I know. A bat wouldn't do that.
So that, yeah, exactly. He's got you there. A bat would not do that. So that one's ooh, that's pretty close. But then there's the fox, and that's the only one that's truly useless.
I mean,
so I don't know. No, I gotta go with the rabbit. It's irrelevant outside. You can replicate it with a beacon. You can get a beacon.
Let's go.
I want to shake your hand.
Oh,
Let me shake your hand.
Disappointing.
Paddy, then.
You can come on again. We're having Napoleon on again. Yeah, welcome anytime here.
Thank you so much for watching the CraftCast podcast. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode, and comment what mob you think should be sent to the Void. Also, we have just released our own Discord server. The link is in the comments, so come join us now the episode's over. Time for next week's preview.
This this week's very special guest. We've got Damien on.
I was told that Minecraft, it's going popular on TikTok. I was like, how does that work?
It makes sense. This he's got 200k in like less than 2-3 months. You know, I think he knows his stuff.